Beginning in the 1970s as a mail-order catalog, the Surfcaster has long been known as the source for hard-to-find surf fishing gear, and I've been personally shopping with them since the 1980s. They offer honest advice and the best recommendations regardless of your experience level, and will tailor their suggestions to what you actually need.
As you would expect from a business that's been serving the surfcasting community for 50 years, their prices are competitive and delivery is always quick and secure. They want you to have the best possible experience in the surf and have the knowledge and inventory to put the right gear in your hands to make that happen. So check out the Surfcaster at www.thesurfcaster.com, and if you're in the area, stop into their brand new brick and mortar store in Shelton, Connecticut.
All right, so I got an awesome proud dad story for you to pass along today. That just happened. As you know, I've been, I don't want to say dragging Aiden in the surf, because most nights that we go, it's him that's initiating it because he wants to go every damn night. So we've been hitting the surf a bit this fall. It's tough because he's in school. He's got baseball. There's a sort of, let's say, not a set in stone rule, but a pretty damn close to being set in stone rule of, you don't go fishing, you don't go out on school nights. I don't want him out till 1 o'clock in the morning and then get up at 6 o'clock and being a zombie at school and all that stuff. So, we like him to be home at a reasonable hour, all that kind of stuff. But some of the tides this fall have lined up on a school night and, just early enough. So we had a couple of tides, on the dark side of the recent moon, and it didn't pan out. Both of us were amped. We're new moon, early fall, we should have mullet. We've had fish in these spots. He can fish it. He likes these spots. And we had a couple of fish, but nothing big, nothing, memorable. And so just this week, we're like, well, now we're coming up on a brighter moon, but there was going to be some heavy cloud cover. And again, the tide worked out good, which in this case, if I can have him home after we're done fishing, clean up, drive, shower, all that stuff, where I get him in bed on the occasion of 10:30, 11 o'clock, that's kind of pushing it. So it timed out. So we get down to the beach, and it looks great. I mean, it was one of those conditions look perfect. There's cloud cover. There was surf raging, but the spot we were in was protected enough where that wasn't affecting it. So we're like, all right, we got some high hopes. He's chatterbox talking about how excited he is to fish. We're good. Talking about past times we've been to this spot and he had fish. We get down there and we're walking in and there's bait. We're like, all right, this is, a piece of the equation, but it's, I'm thinking in the back of my head, I'm like, it's just silver sides. This doesn't mean anything necessarily.
Yeah, but your standards when he's there are a little bit lower anyways.
Yeah. I mean, I'm psyched if we can get into some fish to, the mid-teen, 15, 18 pounds, he's psyched.
Yeah, that's
solid.
I mean,
he's only, he's 12 years old. He's been doing this, quite a few years now, but that's a kick-ass fish for him. And, so yeah, I was kind of in that, I was hoping for mullet, and obviously I'm always hoping in the fall to have just mullet getting hammered and
always hoping for mullet.
Yeah. And this looked this felt like a mullet night. It was the right wind, a temperature drop, things are coming together. The calendar was right. And I'm like, silver sides. Right? Yeah, dude. He was all excited. I'm like, yeah, there's bait. This is good. Let's see. So we wade into the water and we start casting. And he was throwing, it was actually the first night that I had upgraded his surf rod. So he's been working over the years. I had a 7-foot rod that I built for him. And then I had given him a 9.5-foot Saltex rod. The original Saltex series was perfect for him. But those earlier two sessions, I could tell it was a little light for the fish we did hit. And I could tell he could manage more. So this night, I gave him a 10-foot lammy that I had built. I actually took a 1321L, cut it back, basically replicated my 1201M, and it fit perfect for him, which I was actually kind of impressed. The butt length, everything was good. He was like, okay, this is a legit surf rod that he's on. So I was kind of excited he was throwing at that night. So again, we get down, he wades in, put on a Sluggo jig head. He loves throwing the Sluggo jig head combo, so I'm like, go right ahead. He will cycle through those all night long. A couple colors and swap through, and he starts throwing, and I was like, I remind him, I was like, I only brought a couple, so don't go breaking them off. Pay attention, because he's a kid, he can lose track of that sometimes. And I don't know, maybe 45 minutes goes by. We saw a couple splashes. He had a couple of instances where he looked at, hey, Dad, I just had a hit. And I'm like, was it a hit or was it bottom? He's like, I'm pretty sure it was a hit. So I'm like, all right, yeah, that was a hit. Who knows? And I hear him take a cast at one point. I switched to more. I had him throw a weightless sluggo. And he took a few casts, and I heard on one of his casts, which sounded like a wind knot. And I was like, dude, you got a wind knot on it? He's like, and he knows what they are. He's like, I'm not sure. I heard something, but I'm not sure. I think he was a little nervous, and I was going to, give him a hard time. So I have him reel it in. I check, and yeah, there's a big, stupid-ass, ugly wind knot. I'm like, all right, we're not going to weightless sluggo. We're going to go back to the half ounce with the sluggo. I took it out, retied his leader. I was like, let me take one cast here. Thinking in my head, he's made a bunch of casts. Nothing's really happened. I'm going to take one, and I'm going to lay the line down hard. I'm going to pinch the line as I reel it in to lay it back up, reset it before I give it to him and give another freaking wind knot. So I take a cast. I start cranking a little bit. Bam, I get hit. And I'm like, oh, crap. I'm hooked up. He's been standing literally right here throwing nothing, and I take one cast with his. So I hand it off to him, and I'm like, there you go. Reel it in. At least, keep some interest going. He's all excited. It was, it was a good 13, 15 pound, I don't know, low teen. Solid fish. We're happy. So he's all excited. He's like, can I get a picture of it? I'm like, nah, dude, you didn't hook it. It's not your fish. You photo the fish that you cast, hook, land, not the ones I hook and hand off. So he's like, okay. So he releases the fish, takes 2 casts maybe, and I start to kind of move away from him for a minute because, we weren't right on top of something, so I wasn't too psyched to get right on it. And all of a sudden he's like, I'm on! He yells over to me. I'm like, I look at him and I can just see him in the ambient light. He's doubled over. I mean, the rod is bent. He's pulling. I was like, it's part of my language. I was like, you got a fucking rock, dude. I'm frustrated. And he's like, not a rock. It's taking line. I'm like, I look over and I see him just in the same position, bent over. I'm like, you're hung on a rock. And as I say it, it goes, zzz, 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 and dumps some line. I'm like, oh, crap, you got a legit fish here. I'm like, all right, I take that back. Yeah, never mind on that. Yeah, rocks don't run like that. So I drop my rod down. I go over to help him, coach him along like any dad's going to do. I can tell it's, again, he's using a heavy rod. Same setup I run, 50-pound braid, 50 leader. He was running a Saltex 6000, like a legit setup. And it's taking line, and I know he doesn't touch that drag. I know it was set pretty tight, so he's on a good fish. So I go over, and I'm coaching him through what I didn't really need to give him much. He's had enough fish that he knows kind of what to do.
Sure.
And it comes up kind of close in front of us and did that, tail sweep where the water just boils. And I'm like, whoa, this might be legit, dude. I'm thinking 25-pound fish, which he'd never broken 20 yet in the surf. He gets the fish a little closer. All right, swing it. I grab the leader, and I pull the fish towards me, and I'm in thigh-deep, knee-deep-ish water, and I get my first look, and I look at him like, dude, this is legit. I grab the fish's mouth. It shakes, pops out of my hand. I'm still holding the leader, and the jig, poink, pops off.
So you're now not connected to the fish at all. The fish is literally
fish is just hanging. And I'm sure anybody who's surf fished long enough has had that experience where the fish, they go into this catatonic state for what is in reality probably a second. It felt like 3 years. It's just sitting there. And I'm processing in my mind, this is easily the biggest fish he's ever caught in the surf. It's right in front of me. It's going to get away. He's not going to get a picture. We're not going to get a length on it, so he can't enter it in our club's catch and release tournament for the juniors, which he won last year, that he's been trying to repeat. All this stuff is running through my mind.
Yeah, and it's going to be your fault.
Oh, it's all on me. For the rest of my life and his life, it's going to be, Dad, you remember when you lost that big fish? So the only thing I can think of, again, I'm in deep-ass water, is tackle this fish. Dive into it, So I do just that. Lean forward, find its tail, find its head, and I literally bear hug it into the water. And I'm in waders, no dry top, just a sweatshirt. I come up soaked, and the fish starts to do what a fish is gonna do at that point. And I was like, I got it, we're good. Put it into the water. I put my boga on it, let it start to now relax because again I just dove on this damn thing. I'm soaked, and I look at him, and I got my red headlight on, and his face is just like in shock because now he sees this fish. So yeah, we ended up, high fives, hugs, all the, proud dad stuff going on. I got some really good pictures of it. Ended up going 32 pounds and 45 and a half inches. So he has his new personal best blasted right past the 20-pound class, right firmly into the 30s. And all he has talked about since that night, which is now week and a half, almost 2 weeks, is when can we go again and how you dove into the water to save that fish. So
it's great. I can picture it. I can picture you like going down to your chin, like in your waders. The waiter's taking the water, and the only thought going through your mind at that point is, this is gonna hang over my head the rest of my life.
Yep. And it still kind of is, because now he tells it where, that I did that to save it. So I guess at least it's going to be told that way, for eternity, but in a positive note, that it worked, not that you dumbass, you lost my fish.
Yeah, that's right. That's funny. What a great story. I'm glad you shared that with us. So I love hearing it. That's great.
Oh yeah.
And winning the tournament, probably gonna win the tournament.
Well,
I would have to say. So
I think I checked when he actually, junior. He's only 12 years old. So he's in the junior classification. I think he's actually got the largest entered out of anybody for the year right now.
Adult or junior?
I haven't. Yeah, adult or junior. I didn't enter any of mine because it's. I just haven't entered anything for it. But he's got it as far as I know, which would be kind of funny if a junior ended up taking the biggest total for the club, because I never did that when I was a junior. I won the junior division a bunch of times, but as a junior, I never won like the overall.
So that's a great story, Toby, and I'm glad that you shared that with us.
Thank you.
I can't help but picture you diving down to your chin or your nose like a cartoon, and the fish, you're like juggling the fish is what I'm picturing in my mind.
Yeah, I wish it was that glamorous, but no. But it was funny, like, not going back to the whole story, but I forgot about that part when I was retelling it. Like when I told Jen, my wife, when we got home, I told her all about it. And then Aiden told her again because he's so excited. And she sent me a text. She's like, dude, you didn't even tell me you jumped in the water to save the fish. I'm like, oh, yeah, I forgot. I'm sorry. So, yeah.
To all the listeners out there, I'm air quoting. He forgot that part. Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Exactly.
Great. Well, one thing that you and Aiden were doing right, which is the topic for the rest of today's discussion, which is fishing at night. And as we get later and later into the season, just like at the beginning of the season, people start fishing more and more during the daylight. They start to transition out of the dark into sunset, a lot of sunset fishing, I think. Some sunrise fishing for sure. Mm-hmm. And let's just start there, because I actually don't know the theory there, Toby, and maybe you do, because I'm pretty disconnected from it. So what is the deal there? And the rest of the episode is going to be us trying to convince you to fish at night, basically. That's basically, if you want to stop listening and you're like, I'm over this episode, you can stop listening right now, because we're just going to say, stop fishing at sunset and keep fishing the right tides and at night. Yeah. That's it, right?
Yeah. Don't change anything.
But anyways, what do you think that's about, Toby? Do you know?
As far as the prevalence to the sunset versus sunrise, or just the whole day versus
just the switching to day, more daylight.
I mean, my only thought, because I was trying to think through, and every thought that I had in preparation for this was just real negative stuff against people that do it. So I'm trying not to just bash on the, say negative, like, oh, you're lazy. I think it does come back to a piece of that, though, that there's a perception, whether it becomes reality or not. There's a perception that come fall.
We're talking late fall too. We're talking like late fall. Like for us in our neighborhood, it's like the end, like Halloween and afterwards, basically.
Yeah. So like that. Let's say the last window of the season. Yeah. You're at the end.
So maybe in New Jersey, even maybe that's like Christmas or something. I mean, we're talking like at the towards the end.
I think there's it's a couple of factors. I think there's a perception that it is just as good, that there's no reason to like expend the night energy because there's bait around, there's fish on them, they're on the migration, like all that kind of stuff. And there's been like, we've perpetuated that narrative over the years, we being the writers out there. Like, it's just this thing, that it's always written about the fall daytime, and it's romanticized in videos, and it's in our writing, our articles, and all that kind of stuff. So it's like you almost grow up with accepting that it's a thing, because the people that are writing that you're reading are talking about it, and then it continues in the next generation. It's always been a thing. Like, I've got Fisherman magazine going back, New England edition, to when it started in the early 70s. I guarantee I could go grab any edition, late fall from the 70s, there's an article about daytime fishing, how good it is in the surf. It's like it's just been a storyline.
Yeah, I mean, when I first started, I did the same thing. I would do sunrise. I would do like the first, like the last hour of dark, first hour of light. And we're talking, for me personally, that would be in like early November. And I quickly realized that actually, no, fishing deep into the night and following the tides is like way more productive and actually can be pretty amazing. And I feel like there's a lot of great surprises that can happen if you do that, if you stick through it and fish deep into the night. And when I say deep into the night, I mean November 10th for me in Massachusetts, and even later than that in like Rhode Island. I'm fishing till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. There have been nights, some great memories I have in early into mid-November on Cape Cod, actually, even, where I fished all night. I started at 8 o'clock at night, which, of course, it's already been dark for 3 hours, but that's hard. Yeah. That's hard. We'll get to that in a second. That's hard, but
yes. Oh yeah, that's the part I gotta get to.
We're gonna get to that. We'll go to that next. But start fishing at 8 o'clock, and I'm getting in the car to leave as the sun's up, because I've been hammering fish all night. And a few of those stories for me, I fished 6 different spots, fish at all of them, blitzes, the whole 9 yard in the middle of the night, decent fish, 20 pounds, etc. And I feel like during the day, it's such a ghost town. It looks like the ocean is dead, and I wouldn't even have known that those fish were there, sort of thing. But yeah, maybe we can get into stories or just more, experiences, or a little bit how we approach it. But I do want to say it because we just brought it up. We will admit, or I will admit, I'll let you say what you want. It is hard to mentally go out when it's been dark for more than a half an hour. So if it's been dark for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, it is hard when it's cold to mentally get yourself out there. It is. But you gotta know, you gotta believe that something special awaits you. And I know with the fishery the way it is and things getting harder, those things are more memory than reality, but there's still plenty of opportunities for special stuff to happen late season in the middle of the night, right?
Oh yeah, I definitely agree. Like, getting out, going into the cold, I combat it. Because I've done that. If I don't have my gear ready to go, and I have to let's just say, let's say I was planning to head out at 10 o'clock and it's the middle of November. I know it's going to be cold as hell at that point. If I then at 9 o'clock to be able to leave at 10, would have to then go outside and get my stuff ready and then get dressed and do all that, I'm probably less likely to actually get out the door eventually. So I have sort of a system for myself where I actually get my gear ready earlier in the afternoon. I mean, it helps. I work from home. It's a little, I can take a 10-minute break in the afternoon and have a coffee and get my stuff ready real quick. So like my truck is packed before the sun sets. It's ready to go. The rod is on the truck. The gear is ready. My boots are lined up to put them on. Really, the only thing I'll have to do is I get dressed inside, whether it's wetsuit or waders. They're inside in the warmth. So I'm staying warm, getting on. I go outside, I put the shoes on, and I drive away. So I don't have that opportunity to go out and be like, "Whoo, it's too cold," and start building excuses in my head to stay in.
Yeah.
That's a trick that helps me. It is not fail safe, because I will admit I've also gotten my wetsuit on inside, gone outside, and like a cartoon, go right back in, take the stuff, and say, "Screw this, it's too cold."
Yeah. Well, I have another tip that has helped me with the same problem.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big coffee drinker. I think we've talked about this.
Yeah.
And normally I'll drink my coffee on my way to fish, right? Mm. And depending on where and how hard I need to go, like maybe I might save it till when I get closer. I'll drink it right away or whatever. But in late season, what I'll do is whatever coffee I would normally drink in the car, whether it's 24 or 32 ounces, whatever it is, I will drink half of that like as it's getting dark. So like let's say I'm leaving to fish at 7:30 and it gets dark at 4:45. At 5, I'll have a cup of coffee. I'll have a cup and a half of coffee to get me to the point where I get in the vehicle. And then I'll have the rest of it on the way there. So it doesn't hit as hard. So the problem with that, right, is then 3 hours into fishing, you're like coming down. And then you got to drive home. And then you got to drive home. But you know what? I'll deal with that because normally I'm probably not going to be out until 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, honestly. Probably a lot of times I'm done by midnight. But so I'll deal with that back end. But that's been something that's really been helpful to me. So you know what would be perfect for that? Again, Surfcast Podcast brought to you by Grinds. Grinds would be perfect for that because you could take a low dose grinds when you're in the house. And then you can take the high dose grinds when you're like driving there, and you're like keep yourself amped and going, Yeah, because it is important it is hard to get out of the house, but it's worth it, and that's really what we're trying to say. That's really what we're trying to say. Oh yeah,
I mean, there's other reasons in my mind of why it happens. It's undeniable that there will be more likelihood that you're going to run into a daytime blitz in, let's just call it October, November, than July. It's just, by the condition, by a whole bunch of factors. So, like, there's that draw on it for sure. That weighs in. You're like, you've been at it for 6-7 months, whatever it might be.
You mean the pull to fish during the day versus
sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, to just opt for the day. You've been at it for so long already. You're getting tired. We all are, especially the fishery the way it is. Is it worth it? Those things, like all these other factors start weighing in on it. But I've talked about it, I've written about it, that like my plug bag doesn't change very much from first outing to last outing. And I extend that into my practices, really. That I don't, in the spring, I don't just hit this type of a location. And then in the summer, I switch, and now I don't look back at those spring ones. I just do those summer ones. And then in the fall, spring and summer are out, and then I'm only hitting I still do the same thing, meaning it's the same bag, it's the same process, it's the same procedure, it's the same grind. I have the same mentality, whether it's the second outing of the year or the last. I'm still approaching it the same, and the results can realistically be the same throughout. It doesn't, it's like the fish don't know it's the end of the season and now they should feed during the day. Like, they don't have that switch. They're still doing what they're doing, feeding lanes, feeding times, feeding zones, that kind of thing where they stage. It's still there in the fall,
in the late fall.
In the late fall. Exactly.
Late season. No, I agree. I think that one of the misnomers that gets sort of tossed around, that's not the right word, but whatever, is this idea that there's like a late season spot or that your pattern changes. A lot of my patterns, which includes tide, weather, wind, moon, whatever, all of that stuff, it does not really change. I'll be fishing the same pattern in June that I am on November 15th. And I know there's probably some of you listening out there that's like, well, that's not possible because the water's 47 degrees and, the water in June is 60. And how can that be possible? I'm telling you, through years of practice, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because in a lot of places, the tide and current direction, et cetera, gives more than an advantage than just the water temperature. And the water temperature is probably a distant fourth or fifth factor. And I'm not saying it doesn't matter. I'm not saying you can go out in a northwest wind when it's 19 or 23 degrees and fish some kind of outflow where the water coming out is now 41 and expect to do as well as if you had waited and fished the incoming on the same thing and the water's 49 or 8. I'm not saying you should learn those things, and it may not matter, but it probably does. But I'm not saying that. I'm saying about other types of spots that don't have that water exchange sort of thing. And it's amazing. It can be really amazing how those patterns stay so stable for me until Thanksgiving.
Yeah. And we talked about it in one of our early season episodes this year, like with the water temp, because it came up, if regular listeners remember, there was that large striped bass. It was over 40 inches, caught through the ice this past winter.
Yeah.
And I know many places you can get striped bass through the ice. That water is,
right,
sub-freezing.
Right.
They are still actively feeding. I was just talking to somebody recently, and they're like, "Oh yeah, the water temp is 48. It's gonna, when it hits 48, they stop. You can't catch them anymore." Like, no, that's
no.
the only time I think it's to that point. Granted, they change their habits a little bit, but realistically, in my opinion, well into the low 40s, and it's still perfectly viable.
Yeah.
They're still just as likely to strike a plug and feed as they would have been if it was 53.
That's right.
Is it optimal? No, but they're still doing it. That is not. I have not found that to be the factor when it's colder as to why the factor I interpret as why I might not have caught. It's other scenarios.
Yeah. I will concede, though, in another pointer I just thought of when you're saying this that I think is true. I wonder if you think as well, is that being said about, the patterns and, what I don't take offense to this, anyone, when I say this, but I really feel this. Doing it the right way. You're like doing the right thing. Doing the right thing, fishing those night tides. You do you. If you want to fish during the day, no judgment. And I actually didn't like what I said about the Albies and the Surf Association. So if I pissed you off or annoyed you, I'm sorry. Because I went too strong on that. I do get it. And actually, if you love that, I wouldn't like someone saying that so aggressively to me if I love it. So I guess I'm apologizing, like just out of the blue. I didn't expect to say any of this, but
you can throw the hate on me because I hate the Albies.
Okay, so but if you want to go, if you're like, I hate the cold, I'm not getting in a wetsuit, and I love to see the birds at the end of the season. That's fine, but what I consider doing the right thing as a surf angler is to continue fishing the night, and I will concede though the patterns, fishing the right thing, they're not going to be everywhere. So just because I'm telling you and Toby are telling you that, our regular patterns that we fish, they produce fish and blah, blah. Yes, but I have spots that produce better late in the season and other ones, and even some that I go, this should be a late season spot and it doesn't produce anything. And I'm not going to go into any details, but I have a couple like that. But there are some that definitely are late season hot spots. I'm air quoting now for people who aren't watching. Mm-hmm. And you got to figure that out. And that takes a lot of legwork, and it takes a lot of suffering, and it takes a lot of skunks because you just got to get out there and you got to grind. But the beautiful thing about the late season, one of my absolute favorite things, is you have so much time to fish. You can practically fish 2 tides. So you can you can go slow. You can go to this spot and fish that spot and then get in the truck and have some hot cocoa, and then you can go to this spot and try it out. And if it doesn't work, you can go to that spot. There isn't the hustle that you need to run from spot to spot and hustle. You can line things up and really make the night worth it. Really make the night worth it.
And also, I find you can almost fish more because let's say in the summer, if the sun doesn't set, I don't know, let's say the sun doesn't get full dark till 9 o'clock. But now it's getting full dark at 5. You can fish earlier in the evening if your, life allows it, your family and responsibilities and stuff, and you can be home. I mean, I do this all the time. I will be home, showered, getting into bed at 10 o'clock at night.
10, yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, I'm like, I just did a 3-hour session in the wetsuit, showered, cleaned my gear, and I am already home and into bed. And then I get up the next day, and I would be going to bed at 10 o'clock earlier if it was completely up to me on a night that I didn't fish. So I'm not losing any extra sleep. So you can kind of you can really fish more.
Yeah,
potentially.
Agreed
with that.
Agreed. You could do it. You could put a full tide in before midnight.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I mean, you could put the full tide in before midnight, and that is really great. Now, I mean, granted, and Toby, I don't know, you might feel differently about this because we fish very different. We fish a little bit differently late season, but we both kind of do the same thing, but a little bit different. Like, for example, I don't put a wetsuit on after November 5. I'm done, right? So I'm even more of a wuss than you are. You're like the the vanguard, and I'm a wussed out.
I have spots that, if I'm not in a wetsuit,
you'll die.
There's no reality to this concept, but in my mind, I'm at a disadvantage.
Yeah, okay.
Meaning, I could fish the same rocks in the waders, but I just don't feel right. It's like, it's a me thing inside my head. So I will push the wetsuit to the last time I fish a couple of spots, and I refuse to fish them in waders.
Yeah. So what I was going to say, yes, exactly. So what I was going to say is just that it does suck sometimes, though. And it is hard sometimes. And you just have to accept that. But I don't know why it's so much worse for people versus in the second week of August when the no-see-ums are literally making you look like you have chickenpox and you're so sweaty, you feel like you're going to die. And some reason like that's like, oh, no excuses. You got to get out there. And everyone's like, okay, manly man, fisherman, got to get, who cares about the bugs? And then they're like, ooh, no, it's so cold. I can't get out. You know, I don't know what the difference is. I don't get it. But I think the reason is everyone gets tired. And there aren't any reports. The reports completely shut down. And there doesn't feel, you know, this guy's done, this guy's done, this guy's done, your buddy's done. You feel like you're the only one left out there. And it's like, it's too cold and dark. I'm not going to go. But I don't think that's a good excuse.
No. Another factor I kind of just thought of too, and I'm taking this as my personal perspective as a generally southern New England angler. You know, let's talk the November window. You know, like that range around leading up to Thanksgiving. I'm not going to have as good a success. Just there's no way around it in that time frame because fish have already exited. They're already south, and that becomes the problem because then you'll see on social media anglers to our south. Those of you who live on South Shore of Long Island, New Jersey, you know, like. Let's say it's the week before Thanksgiving and I'm on my lunch break and I'm on the phone and I happen to check Instagram or Facebook and I see photos of these daytime blitzes and guys getting, you know, many fish. And I'm like, that's all there. The body of fish is there. I know that body's not here. So that weighs in on me too, that it's like tough to like find that personal motivation to get out knowing that without question, there's just physically not as many fish in front of you because they already moved. And those guys are already hammering them down there in the day. And then it'll creep in sometimes. Well, maybe you should just try the day. You know, that will creep in too because I'm seeing what others are doing.
Sure, because it looks like fun and you feel like you're missing out.
Yeah. Maybe another case to stay the hell off of social media, but
that's
a whole other subject.
Well, you know, the thing is too, you know, I was talking to, and maybe it's a great way to end the episode. I was talking to Al Gags this spring. I was at his shop doing some work, and we were talking about the Outer Cape, like the Outer Cape beaches, and Tony Stetsko, because Tony Stetsko always comes up because they knew each other very well. They were good friends. And we were talking about the seasons and how, you know, the summer was kind of the thing, but it used to be the fall was the thing. Of course, this year, there was no thing at all. But I'm like, yeah, you know, it's a shame everybody really stops in September now. Like, there's not really a lot of people who even fish in October, let alone November, when they used to catch some of the biggest fish of the whole year. And without even missing a beat, he said to me, who's even trying? Name one person who's trying. He said, give me one name. And I said, okay, it's a good point. He goes, exactly. He's like, so yeah, it's going to suck because it's freezing cold and you're not going to catch anything most of the time. But you don't know what's going on out there because nobody's doing it. And that's how I approach the late season in general. It's great because there's like so much, for me, this may be stupid, Toby, and people listening might think this is stupid, but I believe there's an expectation for me as a surfcaster at my level, with my job, with my seminars, etc., that I need to perform at a certain level. And so I have very high expectations for myself. But in November, there's no expectations because everyone else is done. And so every fish you catch, it's like you're stealing it. And like, it's, you know, a 20-pound fish is like, fuck yes, this is epic. Because everybody says it's done. You can't catch anything. They won't bite. Like, what did you just say? 48 degrees, Toby. Like, etc. And I know Dave Anderson says the same thing. He said the same thing to me about this, that when that calendar turns from October 31st to November 1st, all of a sudden the expectations are just gone. And so every fish you catch is special and every fish is great. I want to bring up one thing, and you can respond if you want after this, but I'll let you end the episode. But I want to say this too. For those New England people, and again, this applies to you whether you're in Long Island or New Jersey or Virginia or whatever, Maine, whatever version of this is true. But I just want to point out, so for the Cape in particular, up until they stopped, there was a lot of guys, quite a lot. There was a few anglers who fished the canal pretty hard through the middle of November, even into late into November. And there still are anglers who try, but again, they tend to start going towards daytime and thinking schoolies and stuff. But that first moon in November, if it fell close to the beginning of the month, always a 50. Always. Massive fish. Always a giant fish. At least one. And there was, and in particular, I'm not going to go back in history because that's probably not fair to compare. But just, what was it, Toby? I don't know, maybe up until maybe 3 years ago, there was that one guy from Red Top who for like 4 or 5 years went around the first moon in November, and every year he got a giant, an absolute giant. Everybody's done fishing, and he's getting a legitimate like 50-pound fish. And, what are we missing? What are you missing by not being out there in the middle of the night, right?
Yeah, absolutely. There was an article that I read years ago Joe Lyons had written, and I think it might have appeared in the Fisherman magazine, but I know at the very least it was on his website, but back when he still had a store. That was the Fish Hard Live Long guy. And it was just simply titled, and I always think about it in the fall, what if the fish threw a blitz and no one showed up?
This has been a weekly edition of the Surfcast Podcast. You can find out more about the podcast at surfcastpodcast.com, or definitely check us out on social media, Facebook, Instagram, at the Surfcast Podcast.